Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Now, have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at JustSaying, no G, WJS for article and video updates. And don't forget us in your ears on Spotify at Just Saying Football. We're in Week 12. Fantasy playoffs are just around the corner. You only got about 3 more weeks in the regular season. Then we are getting into our actual NFL playoffs. It is moving quickly. It's getting dark earlier on the East Coast. It's getting sad. It's getting into that cold weather. Hopefully some snow games will be upon us soon. How are you feeling this week?
Yeah, man. Obviously, after this week, everybody's looking forward to snow games or outdoor games outside of Jared Goff, obviously. But we'll get into that a little bit. We got some crazy teams on bye this week right now. Denver, Los Angeles Chargers, Miami Dolphins, Washington Commanders. Obviously, the Dolphins-Commanders game, pretty underwhelming for Spain. We don't want people in Spain thinking that's a representation of a good football game, even though it went to overtime. But it kind of started with an interesting game, and now we are here at 12, week 12, man. I mean, we got 6 weeks left of the regular season. We're going to be talking about some teams, and they're going to have losing records now, and I feel like the tone's going to start shifting to these teams that we're going to see in this episode that have a lot of potential for playoff implications right now.
Yeah, and playoffs are just around the corner, so let's jump right into this. Thursday Night Football, Buffalo Bills making their way to Houston to take on the Texans. Bills are favored this by -3.5 with an over-under here of 43.5. No C.J. Stroud in this one. He's still in concussion protocol. Davis Mills will begin the start. They're 2-0, though, and they're staying alive, surprisingly, in the AFC South and the AFC playoff race. There's still a chance for them to get there. They do need the Colts to drop some games, as well as the Jaguars, who got a big win last week against the Chargers, and we'll get into that one in a little bit. But what are your thoughts going into this one? Josh Allen, no true wide receiver one. We saw Keon Coleman get benched for a little bit. Deion Dawkins being like, this is what happens. You got to start to grow up a little bit. There's a lot happening with Buffalo, but they are finding ways to win. They're finding ways to score. Josh Allen, once again, playing like an MVP. But, the Texans' defense, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL.
Yeah, if anybody's going to win this for the Texans, it's got to be their defense, especially on the short week. It just gives Davis Mills, who's been playing great, like you said, 2-0, a chance to kind of, edge this out and a win at home. But Buffalo, man, after last week going toe-to-toe with Tampa the way that they did, Josh Allen, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, only got to ever do that outside of Otto Graham from, the 60s, man. So, Buffalo all the way in this one for me. I'd like to see James Cook get a little more involved, only 16 for 48, but he did have 3 catches on 3 targets for 66, so I'd like to just see him have a big game, because Josh Allen scoring 6 touchdowns, he's got to be exhausted, so I'm still taking the Bills, but this is an interesting one for the short week. I would like to see the Bills' defense step up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in the Bills as well. I do think that somebody, especially like even Khalil Shakir, has to step up this week for Josh Allen just to help him out a little bit. You have 2 great edge rushers in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., but I do think this is going to be Buffalo's game. Ultimately, the Texans didn't really impress me enough last week, especially against an easy Titans team, to show me that I have a lot of trust in them. I do think that this Bills team gets a little bit better as the season continues, so I'm going to trust in them right now. Let's move this into Sunday. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers making their way to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears favored this by -2.5, an over-under here of 44.5. Now, Rodgers isn't confirmed to be out, but he does have a broken left wrist at the moment. There's no surgery needed, so there's a chance for him to be in there. But with all that being said, even if he is in there, I am going to lock in Chicago. They got a big win against my Vikings last week. Caleb Williams had an off game, 16-32, 180 yards. I think this is a game for them to jump right back into it. The Steelers' defense has sort of been all over the place. I never know which one we're going to get. I don't know if it's going to be a great one. I don't know if it's going to be a mediocre one. I don't know what Jalen Ramsey we're going to get. Hopefully he doesn't get spit on this week by any players, though. But even if Rodgers in this, it's going to be an injured one. If he was fully healthy, I might lean towards Pittsburgh because of just his record against Chicago historically.
Yeah.
But Mason Rudolph show might be what it is for the next few weeks. Not necessarily loving that. I'm going to lock in Chicago.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I got to lock in Chicago. If Rodgers was fully healthy, you said it, Sean. He is the king of beating Chicago in Chicago. So I would love to see that. I'm going to take the Bears this week. They're on a 3-game win streak right now. they've definitely got this offense figured out. They have 5 comeback fourth quarter wins this year. So even if this game gets close, I kind of trust Caleb a little more than I would trust the QB situation just this week. But the Steelers defense can always get them in and out of games. They played great last week. But, I think the Bears, their defense has been finding new ways to kind of step up. And, it's going to be outside. It's going to be cold. I like the under 44. I think this is going to be a slow pace game, but I'm taking Chicago at home.
Couldn't agree with you more. All right, moving this right along. New England Patriots making the way to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Patriots favored this one -7.5 and over under here 49.5. I do think this will be a good game. I'll take the over on this one. I think that the Bengals can still score, but there is going to be no Jamar Chase in this one. He has a 1-game suspension for spitting on Jalen Ramsey. I'm going to lock in the Patriots. So they're playing great. And honestly, the Bengals, we all know the season they're having. They just cannot protect the quarterback. I think this is a chance for Joe Flacco to maybe get beat up a little bit. Not going to love that. If the Patriots, for whatever reason, if their defense is on the waiver wire, that's a pickup this weekend, honestly.
Yeah. I like that idea, Sean. Yeah, I absolutely love their defense against this offense. Right now, going back all the way to 2014, New England has had their number. They've beaten them in New England 4 different times. Now they got to go play them on the road. I love what Drake May's doing. He's leading the league right now in passing yards and hard guy to go against. I will take New England by 7.5. I think that's a little bit of a trap spread, but I will say just the way that they're playing, they're 9-2. They got to keep these matchups. With the Bills right now, if the Bills beat Houston, they'll only be 1 game behind. If they can maintain a 2-game lead, that is huge. So I love New England this week. Love DeMario Davis this week, and I hope Trevion Henderson, coming off that 3-game touchdown, is feeling himself again.
Yeah, let's see what he can do. And I do also want to say I think Stephon Diggs is looking like a lock for comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
All right, moving this right along. Your New York Giants making their way to Detroit to take on the Lions. Lions are favoring this one by a whopping 10.5 with an over-under here of 49.5. Jalen Hyatt, what was that route, man? Just stopped running right when you needed him to run. You have to wonder, it might be the last time he's wearing number 13. That's what I've been seeing all over the internet.
Yeah, man, I was psyched about Jalen Hyatt. Go check the tape. I thought he'd be more than just like a go guy, but you're looking at him and he's just, the speed is there, fine, but he cannot run any other routes besides one, and he's not getting anything really productive done. He's got 5 catches on the season. Isaiah Hodgins, who joined the team on Thursday, old receiver, came back. He had 5 catches on Sunday, 2 big 4th downs. I like, the Giants, they've been fighting all season despite all the adversity. The Lions, after a loss, they are dangerous. Dan Campbell does not lose after losses. So I believe that, their streak right now since October 2022, they haven't lost 2 games back-to-back. So I like the Lions in this one. I'll take the 10.5. They're going to be at home. Jared Goff in a dome, never a bad place for him to be, especially after last week.
Yep, I think this is a get-right game for the Lions. Even if Jameis Winston's in it, it will be a good game. I think it'll be kind of fun. I don't know if I'll take the spread on this one for Detroit. I think that the Giants can still keep this close. We forget they do have a very good defensive front with opportunities to really mess up the middle offensive line of the Lions, which seems to be their only weakness at the moment. So there's a chance for the Giants to maybe keep it a little bit closer than people think, but I'm still going to take the Lions to get the win. I think this is a big Amon-Ra game, and I expect them to now use Jameson Williams in a way that they utilized him last week because he was so explosive and get the ball to him. So hoping that one continues. All right, moving this right along, we have my Minnesota Vikings making their way to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Green Bay is favored this way -6.5 with an over-under here of 41.5. It's just hard watching this Vikings offense play football this season, man. I have Justin Jefferson on a fantasy team, just not getting the production. And I stand by him. He'll still probably hit over 1,000 yards. And look, there's still a chance for this offense to just sort of get going. I'm not saying that they're going to win a bunch of games and make the playoffs. I just mean there's a chance for this offense to actually produce and be what they have been the last few years. But it's been difficult this season, to say the least. And J.J. McCarthy is looking every bit of rookie that you'd expect for a guy that did, in fact, miss his rookie season. And all this is to say I am going to take the Green Bay Packers. And I said this off camera, and I want to say this on camera. A little bit worried it might be a Micah Parsons 4-sack game. Might be a huge one for him. So I am a little bit worried about that. Despite us having a pretty good offensive line, I just feel like McCarthy might move around in ways that will really favor the Green Bay's front seven and allow some sacks to happen in crucial moments.
Yeah, man, and you got J.J. McCarthy back there. He's got to get it to Justin Jefferson, like you said. They have to be able to understand. You're looking at T.J. Hawkinson having 30 yards a game, J.J. having 50 yards a game. Addison dropped a big ball last week. But I'm looking at the Packers right now. They're going to have to lean on Emmanuel Wilson, whether or not Josh Jacobs is in or out. I do think that they'll keep him kind of healthy all week, and then they're going to try to just throw Emmanuel Wilson in there. I do like an Aaron Jones touchdown in this one now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I like him for fantasy this week. I think the Packers, they have these games where they don't play as good. This could be one of those. I'm going to take Green Bay, but I'm going to take the Vikings to keep it closer than a touchdown. I think that this has like the, kind of like the theme for me going in is like a back and forth all day. So I like Green Bay, but, I can see the Vikings keeping the fight up.
I like it. Hopefully they do that or defensively keep it in. Let's see what they're able to do. All right, moving this right along, we have the Seattle Seahawks making their way to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Seattle starting this by -13 with an over-under here of 40.5. Sam Darnold, 4 interceptions last week. Now, seems like it's going to be a get-right game for them facing Tennessee. I'm locking in Seattle, no questions asked. JSN might be Offensive Player of the Year unless Jonathan Taylor just continues to have the season he's having.
Yeah, I agree with you. JSN leading the league. Tennessee, one of the worst teams. You're looking at Seattle, -13. I would stay away from this game outside of everything, but, JSN, Charbonnet, I'd love to see this as an opportunity for Rashid Shaheed to go off. Not too much love on the Titans side. Calvin Ridley out for the season. He's kind of their only bright spot right now, and I think Seattle dominates. Super easy one for me here as well.
Yep, I couldn't. Yep, right. It just feels like it's one of those games, especially for them after last week's weird one, but that was against the Rams. All right, moving this right along. One of the better games of the week, Indianapolis Colts making their way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored in this one by -3.5 with an over-under here of 50.5. Chiefs aren't the same, but you cannot sleep on them, especially at home. And, of course, Travis Kelce, the triple crown in Kansas City, the leader in receptions, touchdowns, and yards all time for the Chiefs. Absolutely incredible. Shout out to him.
It's a big year for our boy. I mean, he's getting a lot done out here, going to the Super Bowl, not winning, getting engaged, getting his stuff. But now he's got the triple crown. I mean, that is what he's, that's a huge thing out there for any franchise. So that's amazing. Like you said, you can't really discount the Colts. But like you also mentioned earlier in the episode, Sean, Jacksonville and Houston are in a race right now with Indianapolis. If Indianapolis is going to hit a roadblock, I think this could be it. I want to take them so bad with this pick. But it could be one of those things that if you see it coming down to the wire, go get them at late. But the Colts, they're playing really well. But however, I think Kansas City, we're finally been saying the last couple weeks, they're just at the top of their game. I am going to take KC in this one at home. I want to take Indianapolis, but I will say I think Kansas City has just kind of the full tilt right now with their offense and their defense. And Indianapolis, if Indianapolis was at home, I would take them. But I'm going to make, the Arrowhead thing is a big deal.
I'm going to go with Indianapolis here. I think ultimately this is why you have Jonathan Taylor. This is why you have the run game for these games. We talk about like keeping Mahomes off the field at all times. This is why you have Jonathan Taylor. This is why you have this offense. I do think this is a huge test for this Colts team. What are they gonna do? What is Daniel Jones especially gonna look like in this game? Does he show up? Does he not show up? These are gonna be huge questions that are gonna be asked, and if they lose, and especially in the manner in which they lose, I think will immediately raise concerns for this team. But ultimately, I think that they have built their offense in a way that relies on the run, and they're doing it well enough that it drains the clock and opens up the passing game. And it allows Daniel Jones to feel more comfortable. And as long as they're able to do that, the defense has been playing great. They made a trade for Sauce Gardner. They got Chivas Ward. They got Cam Bynum. They have DeForest Buckner. This is a solid team. They built themselves to win a Super Bowl for this season. This is going to be the big test. You're just coming off the bye. Now you have a game like this. What's going to happen? It was like a 200-plus rushing yard game against the Falcons a few weeks ago. Yeah. Now you face the Chiefs. It's going to be very, very different. The Chiefs are the litmus test if you're playoff ready, if you're a Super Bowl caliber team. All right, move this into our next game. We have the New York Jets making their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens are favored by -13.5 and with an over-under here of 44.5. Tyra Taylor is going to get the start in this one. Justin Fields is benched yet again this season. I'm locking in the Ravens, no question asked. I'm staying away from all things Jets right now. I'll trust Baltimore. I'll even comfortably take the spread.
Yeah, I honestly agree with you. I think this is a 2-touchdown game, and Vegas thinks so as well. 44.5. I'm staying completely away from that. I think if anything, Baltimore is going to go ahead early. They're going to win. I think Derrick Henry could obviously just have the day of his life. So managers who need him this week in fantasy, get ready. But I will say Baltimore, doesn't matter if they're home, not home, anywhere. They are going to beat this Jets team. So easy for me. Big Zay Flowers day could be. If you got the Ravens defense, this is the week that you start them in fantasy as well.
Yep, absolutely. And if you're a Ravens fan, you have to be very happy right now because your team is getting a little bit closer. If the Steelers take an L, you get the win. All of a sudden, you're tied for first in the AFC North. All right, moving this right along. Cleveland Browns making their way to Las Vegas, take on the Raiders. The Raiders here this one -3.5 with an over-under here of 36.5. Everybody stay away from this game for betting reasons and for fantasy, unless maybe like you're taking the Browns defense or something. But I'm not gonna like take Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku in this one. I think everybody should stay far away, especially after that Raiders Monday Night Football game. I will take Cleveland though. I do think this defense will be able to create enough opportunity. We saw what they were able to do against Baltimore last week. If it wasn't for the mistake by Shadir Sanders, and we kind of saw the whole team take responsibility, being like, we've never even played with this kid before. We've never even had a snap with him. We don't even know his cadence. So let's see what happens this week with a little bit more prep time, not coming in there just sort of like at the last second. I'm not saying he's going to be amazing, but last week I feel it wasn't the best. You can't say what he is or isn't off of last week. That's not the right litmus test for this. So this is something I'm going to take a look at this week. But I'll take Cleveland as for the defense. I'm also curious to see if they're going to change this around and flex a different game like the Colts Chiefs game into this one and then move this one more into the 1 o'clock game because this is not the sexy matchup that people were expecting.
Yeah, for me, man, I think it's got to be a get-right game for Ashton Jeanty this week. I think that the Browns' defense is great, but their offense, I just don't trust after like a week. This will definitely be, a better matchup. It's not like they got Cleveland matched up against some crazy scoring team right now. But, man, Chip Kelly is killing me, man. I mean, you make him the highest-paid offensive coordinator for no reason, and he runs your number one pick twice for 1 yard in the first half. I mean, the Raiders, they need to be pounding the ball if they want to win this game. I'm taking them in this game because of that. I think that they need to get it right. Brock Bowers last week looked finally fully healthy to me, and I don't think that there's somebody that in coverage on Cleveland's defense could stop him right now. But Myles Garrett, he's legit. I mean, they were saying the other day that his average this season is 0.6 seconds to get off the ball, which breaks his previous record of 0.75 seconds. So this year he's literally playing on a different level, and Genty's going to have to be quicker. They're getting stopped a lot, so screw this game. Stay away from it. This is going to be a trap. I'm taking Las Vegas for the purpose, though.
Yep, something I saw, Myles Garrett is on pace for 27 sacks at the moment.
27 sacks?
Yep, so keep that in mind. That is his current pace right now. And we are in week 10. This is not like a week 4 stat. This is a week 10 stat. I'm not saying he's going to get 27, but if there's a time to start paying attention to the sack record, start paying attention this week, especially
He'd
if he
beat the
gets
sack
after
record by 4.5 if he did that.
Yep. Yes. So that's something to just monitor. He would shatter it. And so that would be something that would be incredible. All right, moving this right along. Jacksonville Jaguars make their way to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Jags are favored this by -2.5 with an over-under here of 47.5. Just feels like Arizona's in for a big rebuild. It feels like Jonathan Gannon is probably not going to be around. Kyler Sweepstakes is going to be interesting to see which teams are going to want him. I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. I just feel like you have to stay away from what's going on with Arizona. But Jacoby Brissett, man, way to play. He's just freaking balls out week after week. I think you could still mess around with the Cardinals' fantasy offensive weapons. But other than that, I just feel bad for Cardinals fans, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm taking Jacksonville in this one. It's 47 completions. You gotta give him his flowers for that. That's insane. This dude threw the ball every single play last week. So Jacoby Brissett probably gonna be making more money next year than Jonathan Gannon. That's for sure, like you said. So I'm taking Jacksonville. Like we said with Houston, they're in the race right now for the AFC South. There is, even though they have to travel and they're away and it's a interconference, I like them at home. Away, and not going to be a huge game for me here, but I'm hoping at least we can see a little more out of Jacoby Myers. He's been doing just fantastic since he got to Jacksonville, so I expect a big game out of him this week.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. All right, moving this right along, NFC East showdown. Philadelphia Eagles making their way to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Eagles are favored this by -3.5 with an over-under here of 47.5. Cowboys got the huge win on the road. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were playing just fantastic. Pickens, man, playing like he's going to get a big contract, if not from the Cowboys, from somebody, but hopefully they sign him. It seems like that would be the right move. He's having a great season. Steelers kind of missing him right now, you have to admit. What are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, imagine him and DK together. I mean, that would be insane, and now he's with CeeDee Lamb. I think Dallas takes this one. They're at home. They're dogs. As dogs this year, they've been phenomenal. I think that, we kind of saw a lot of motivation from that team on Monday night. Losing a teammate's a huge thing. Not to say, with the Raiders, but you could see they had that kind of fire the other night. And, I like what they're doing. I think that this defensive line is starting to come into its own with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. They got 4 huge defensive pieces back and Logan Wilson yesterday. So the defense is going to look different than it had the rest of the season. So I'll lean on that. Philly's offense just isn't as high paced as it's been the last couple of years for me to say they can outscore Dallas right now, and that's the factor for me.
I'm going to go opposite of you. It seems like the Eagles just find ways to win, and ultimately that's what matters the most in the NFL is finding ways to win regardless of how it looks. And I agree with you. I don't think this offense looks the same. I think it looks worse, and it should look more explosive than it is, whether it's the play calling or the design plays that they're running, like the force feeding to A.J. Brown. While I was happy he was getting more work and production, it just didn't feel the same. It just felt like it was too forced, and it felt like it wasn't clicking the way that they were hoping it to. Think you just have to get back to this run game. Get back to this run game. Get back to this run game. Like, you got Saquon Barkley. That's where Jalen Hurts does so well, is off the play action. That's where he does so well, is when that run game is good. So let's see what happens, but I do trust them in this one. They just are finding ways to win, and I do think that the Cowboys are still figuring out their own way as well. Let's keep this moving along. NFC South showdown. Atlanta Falcons making their way to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints for this one by -1.5 with an over-under here of 39.5. Michael Penix is out for the year. Drake London is out multiple weeks. Cousin is going to be in on this one. I just feel like if you have Bijan Robinson, if you have Chris Olave, those are the only names that you should be paying attention to. Other than that, stay far away from this for fantasy reasons. I'm going to just go with the Saints, but I do not like this game at all. -1.5. We talk about it all the time. We don't like that.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm taking the Saints in this. The familiarity we always talk about, with the NFC South, all of these teams, they're not always phenomenal teams, especially these two right now. It's quarterback hell right now with Kirk Cousins being in Atlanta. Could be a big Kyle Pitts game, could be a big Bijan game, but, Darnell Mooney is going to wind up being wide receiver 1. He's been underproductive than we thought this year. Don't love it. Like you said, Olave, probably Bijan only starts out here for this game. And take New Orleans. I mean, 1.5, if you don't like it, stay away from it. I'm going to be doing that. The only 4 p.m. game really that we should be touching and really starting people is that Dallas-Philly game, but this is an ugly one.
Yep, not one of the best for the scheduling. All right, let's move us into some Sunday night football when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make their way to Los Angeles, take on the Rams. Rams are favored this by -6.5 with an over-under here for 9.5. I've been saying it throughout the year, and I do think it's still applicable now. The Bucs are finally getting the injuries are catching up to them, and you can see it and feel it on this team right now at the moment. I am hoping that they're able to still compete for this rest of the season. I have a bet for them to win the South, but I am completely unsure if they'll be able to. I'm locking in the Rams on this one. I just think that the Rams are playing great. Devontae looks fantastic in this team. Puka Nacua looks great on this team. Kieran Williams looks great on this team. They're coming off of 4 interceptions at home. They're back at home again. They're looking like a great playoff team and looking like they have a chance to make it to the NFC Championship game. I'm liking everything that's going on with the Rams. I'm trusting them in this one. I think Tampa Bay, again, the injuries are just finally caught up to them. I'm not liking it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Tampa Bay, I'm kind of loving how they've been able to go on the road this year. They've been able to win as underdogs. When it comes to the Rams, they've been playing really perfect, and they're at home. I would love to take the Rams in this one. I will take Tampa just because I think that if any team is going to be able to beat the Rams in the playoffs, it could be Tampa, especially if they were fully healthy. I think that this would be a really big matchup. It's unfortunate we don't have Evans and Godwin in there, but this could be a big night for Ibuka as it has been. Sean Tucker last week coming out of the backfield, 3 touchdowns. You think that guy doesn't want to touch the football this week? You're wrong. He's going to go ham. I think that if LA is going to drop a game, it could be this one. It's hard for me to pick against them. I totally agree with you. But I will take Tampa Bay +6 just to be safe. I'll absolutely take the over 49.5. I think that one is probably the easiest bet of the weekend.
I like it. Couldn't agree with you more. All right, Monday Night Football, Carolina Panthers making their way to San Fran to take on the 49ers. 49ers favorites from a -6.5 and over-under here of 48. Panthers, Bryce Young looking great for 448 yards last week. Set a Panthers record for most yards throwing in a game, which both you and I were shocked by. We thought for sure Cam Newton had locked that in, but he did not. I mean, the Panthers are competing. There's a chance for them to win the South right now, man, especially if the Bucs lose and then they're able to edge out a win against the 49ers. What are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, well, you just brought up a really good point there, Sean. I mean, the divisional kind of Jacob's ladder that can happen from Sunday night to Monday Night Football. I mean, the Rams losing is good for the Niners. The Niners losing is good for the Rams, and then you got the other side with the NFC South with the Bucs and the Panthers. There's a real effect there on however these games go. These divisions could look really good or really bad for some of these teams. So, Carolina only 1 game behind the Bucs. Getting this win against San Francisco would be huge. No way Bryce Young, I feel like, no way he's got another 400-yard game in him, and definitely not against the Niners. But you know who we've been talking about, a lot of guys coming back this week. Brock Purdy is back. And now that Brock Purdy is back, I like the Niners here by a touchdown. George Kittle last week, freaking 2 touchdowns while McCaffrey gets 3. That's the kind of offense Kyle Shanahan's trying to run. So I love that. I think that they're going to outpace them. I like the over in this one as well. But I love what San Francisco is. They're finally starting. They have Purdy, Jennings, McCaffrey, Kittle all on the field at the same time. Finally, but our boy Ted McMillan, or at least my guy Ted McMillan, has been stepping up the last couple weeks. He scored early last week, set the tone. So, big shout out to him. And Xavier Legette, too, man. They're putting Xavier Legette lines at like 20-something. This guy's getting 30-yard passes every week. So he's not a bad stream if you're looking for something like that in fantasy this week.
All right, we like that. I am going to lock in the 49ers. I think it comes down to Brock Purdy. This is why you have this offense. You mentioned everything about them, and I think it's absolutely right. CMC's playing great. Kittle's playing great. I think there's a chance for Juwan Jennings to really get going with Brock Purdy back in the mix. The defense, despite all the injuries, it's playing well. It's playing solid under Robert Saleh. So hate it or love it, it's still happening. I am going to lock them in. I do think you can take the spread on this or not take the spread on this. I do think the Panthers will cover. I think they're a better team than people are expecting, and they have a pretty stingy defense. And I don't think you can fully count them out.
And they've been great as dogs all year on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So while I still lean towards the 49ers, I don't think it will be by a touchdown. I only think it'll be by a few points. So I'll say you can bet against the spread for sure. But that's all the time that we have today, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We got a few good games, a few bad games, but definitely important for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those weeks where we're looking at it and these teams are really going to affect. So when you got these good games, especially 1 o'clock, just lock in. It's going to be a big week for fantasy. 3 weeks left in the regular season for fantasy. And, we're going to be here all season. So check us out, Just Saying Football on YouTube, Spotify. Get us on Discord for all of our picks there at Just Saying Football, and Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram for all the updates. Thank you guys for checking us out.
Enjoy.